I'd like to welcome all of our officers and everybody from the community here. So hopefully we can come together and use this platform as a time and to come together and think of things we can help our community out together as a whole. Maybe how Siskiyou County can help us and we can help Siskiyou County. There's a few things the tribe would like to talk to the Sheriff Department about. Public Law 280 is one of them, and that's something that's very important to us that we need to get clear about. So I really thank you guys for coming, and I want to hand it over to Mr. Darrell Frost here, and again, welcome.
Thank you, sir. I'm Darrell Frost. I'm the emergency manager for Karuk Tribe. I've been around for about 3 years. Prior to that, 41 years of cop work, 27 years of fire, and 37 years of EMS. I'm still a paramedic. I do a lot of training for the tribe, and it's been nice to retire and do something worthwhile and something that helps the community. So I spend a lot of time down here teaching. We'll be up in Wairika tomorrow teaching our youth workers that are coming to work. There'll be 20 of them. We'll teach them first aid and CPR, and then they'll be off working different assignments throughout the summer and being paid for it. So it's a pretty good program. I'll have you silence your cell phones if you have them. If you go out either one of these doors or out that way, come on down the hallway. There's the bathrooms to the left, and across over here, I've got coffee made for you. And then right outside the door is cold water. So without that, I'll turn it over to you.
Sheriff LaRue.
Sheriff LaRue.
If you guys want to come sit in these chairs, you guys are more than welcome to come up and sit down. Come on, these are comfortable ones.
Everybody hear me on this thing? Am I live? Hello? Okay. Well, thank you for having us. Darrell, very impressive. I've worked with you for many years, especially for only being 35 years old. You've done a lot.
You work for me.
Oh, I work for you.
I think you just added up like 120 years to work there.
I mean, what hasn't he done?
I'm tired.
Well, I appreciate all your service. As usual, you've done a great job. Always been there for the community. So I'm Sheriff Jeremiah LaRue, and the hope is with this meeting is that it's a time that we can get to know each other. We can talk a little bit about what the county does, what the sheriff's office does. We can hear from you. This is your meeting. I really wanted to create an opportunity for us to have dialogue and make it routine, so we will probably have these more frequently. Instead of just sort of waiting until months go by or maybe even years, I don't think that's really helpful. We're a small community. We're spread out all over the place. Siskiyou County is massive. It's almost 6,300 square miles, and we are in some of the most remote areas of the county, and Happy Camp is one of those places. And we want to make sure that we, as the Sheriff's Office, are serving you with dedication and purpose. And we are not perfect, but we aim to do better, and so that's why we're here, just to hear from you. So what I want you to know is that if there's something personal that you want to talk to me about or anyone at the Sheriff's Office, you don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to talk in an open forum. You can see us afterwards, and we'll talk to you about that. But feel free to save up questions or ask them when we're done. And we want to be able to get you answers and just, again, get to know each other. I think it'd be really great, and it'll help us grow in the future. So with us, we have our county here. These points on the map here are where we have substations. And you'll see that Dunsmuir, Mount Shasta, Montague, and Doris. And then we also have our headquarters in Wairika and a substation in Happy Camp. We're what we call decentralized law enforcement, meaning we don't have one place we show up to like many law enforcement agencies where they all share one office. So we're spread out all over the place. And we've tried to do our best over the years. There's always staffing shortages. We've talked about that for many years, but we're trying to do better, and our hiring has improved. And I'm very thankful that in the back of the room there, we have, of course, Deputy Garrison, and then Deputy Cervantes, who's also working down here in Happy Camp assigned as the second deputy. We are trying to grow that, and the goal is to get back to what we used to have, which was, I think, around 5 people. And we're not going to stop until we get there. So, go ahead. So this is just a little snapshot. And again, we won't be able to talk about everything the Sheriff's Office does, but I have a short window of time. We have questions later, but this is kind of a snapshot of what it's like countywide for the Sheriff's Office. And this is 2025. So 416 arrests, 2,169 traffic stops, 10,386 calls for service, and 1,021 cases open. This reflects how busy we are as a department, and this is throughout the county. Again, we are spread out. I mean, you can drive all day in this county and never see the same place twice. So for the Happy Camp area, this is for 2025. 339 calls for service. There's 44 traffic stops, 80 security checks, 25 calls for disturbing the peace. Welfare checks are 43, 8 theft and burglary calls, 13 trespassing calls, and then 3 calls for code enforcement. And what I'd like to reiterate here is it's very helpful if you do call, if anybody watching this. A lot of people go on social media and comment about things, but sometimes it doesn't reach our office. So always report if you can, even if someone else has already reported it, because oftentimes people might assume that other people are going to report information and they don't, and then we don't hear about it. And so I always want to encourage people, if you can, if you have the opportunity, call in the information, even if you don't think that it is to yourself a big deal or important. You never know. It might be the one piece that we don't have on a case that might solve something. So don't ever think that your information may be too little or unimportant. So one of the big challenges we have in Siskiyou County is our illegal marijuana eradication. And these are some of our numbers I'll read, and then we'll get into some important pieces about this. But a reflection, even just this year alone, which we're in the 6th month, we've already eradicated over 90,000 plants. Years ago, we had a lot of illegal grows in the national forest. It's often moved to private land now, which still is out in the forest, and we still eradicate that. If you look back on old Sheriff's Office material from years past, there was years where in the 80s, we had a couple thousand plants, and we had many felony arrests because of that. And it just shows you how it's increased in California. A lot of that has to do with legislation changes. So already we have 12,500 pounds that we've eradicated. That was product that was going to be sold, which I'll get into in a few here. 45 arrests, 23 firearms were seized, and 31 bags of Chinese labeled pesticides. If you followed some of our social media, you've probably heard about the illegal Chinese labeled pesticides. If you haven't, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. In 80% of our cultivation sites, we are finding that. And this stuff is particularly dangerous because it is being fumigated inside the hoop houses, which are the greenhouses that we often encounter. And so you see here, it is essentially a cocktail of variety of pesticides. So there's about 25 different ones. And of the 25, 17 are not required to be tested by the state of California. So they are slipping through the labs, and then that product is making its way into the dispensaries. And so 12 of them inhibit things in the body, which can cause problems. 8 of them are pesticides that are considered to be carcinogenic. 7 of them are not registered for use in the United States. 6 are listed as groundwater pollutants. And then 3 are considered toxic to the air, and and 0 of them are approved for fumigation. And so the most troubling thing is that these plants that we're encountering are saturated with this pesticide. And it used to be thought of, well, the black market, that's where, you know, people buy marijuana on the street, in the alleyway. But most alarming is a lot of these stops that we're making on the highways, interstates, are going to licensed facilities in California and Oregon. That's scary. And it's scary because, again, the marijuana is laced with contaminants. And the labs are not testing for it because, as I mentioned, on the number of the 25 pesticides, 17 of them are not getting caught. So I say this as a public health message and warning that I'm concerned for the safety of people that do consume it. Because if you believe that it is medicinal, you know, in a sense, I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue with you believing that you are getting something that is safe, or your friends or family, and you're actually getting something that has carcinogenic compounds, and you won't know it. And we've told the state that they need to be better about dealing with this issue. There is some changes coming. It's been slow, but we've been very strong advocates for trying to call the state out on this, because again, it is your health and your loved ones that could be getting exposed to this. The last thing I want to see is somebody who is using it as a medicine for cancer that is exposing themselves to carcinogenic pesticides. So just keep that in mind, and in the back of your mind, it's not necessarily safe nowadays in California and beyond. Okay, so I'll touch on a few things that are new this year. So we started this cold case website, and if you go to our Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office webpage and look around, you'll find our cold case website. And so the aim, this was in February, we launched this database because there are many unsolved homicides and missing people in our community. And I don't want to be somebody that leaves that in a state that is suspended forever. And we have an effort, a very dedicated group of people that are going through these cases to try to find new evidence and to try to track down leads that may be old or new to try to close these cases. And we have had some success, and we hope to get more success with this. And one of the things is through increased public awareness and engagement, we hope that this will help people come forward. So if you know of any information about an old case, we want you to know that you can report that directly to us. You can do it anonymously online. So if you go to this website, there's a place where you can comment and you can report anonymously. So you don't have to feel like your name is out there, and we want all information. So I encourage you, if you know anything about the cases, and you can go online and look at them and see all the different cases that we have, we want to solve those. And you are our partners, honestly. You hear things that we don't hear. And you may know things, again, that might be that one piece of information that might solve a decades-old homicide or missing person in our community. We have a website here. It's kind of lengthy, but I just want you to know that you can go online to our Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office website, and you can look for it there, and that's where you'll find it. So the other thing that is really concerning, we have a domestic highway enforcement team. We have some very well-trained deputies that are going out in the communities, and they are looking specifically to stop people that are trafficking in narcotics. And we're talking about some really dangerous narcotics. And so Interstate 5 we know about. I mean, it's a little bit of ways from here. We have State Route 96. You know, you get stuff that comes up from the bay that makes it all the way up here, goes into Oregon. And so we have trained people to look for things that they could be more attentive, and they can look for details. And so here's just a snapshot. This was in 2 years with narcotic seizures. 473 pounds of methamphetamine and 337 pounds of fentanyl. And so this is incredible here. That is over 76 million lethal doses of fentanyl. Now, how's that even possible? Well, I'll tell you why. Because there's so much of it out there, and people are using this stuff. And what happens when you use it, if it doesn't immediately kill you, you can build a tolerance up to it. And so a lot of people are playing Russian roulette with this, and so they'll buy pills that are laced with fentanyl and they don't know about it. And so, as you're seeing here, if that were just to quantify as much fentanyl as we've seized, you could kill 76 million people with it. We need to get this stuff off the street. And I'm very proud of the men and women of the agency that are stopping vehicles that have these dangerous drugs on board. 78 pounds of cocaine and 54,000 pounds of processed cannabis. Again, a lot of it is laced with this illegal pesticide. And a lot of it is going to licensed locations. It's no longer black market. And then 145 drug-related arrests. Okay. The other piece is this year, it actually started a little bit earlier last year. We started with, we joined a coalition of 5 counties. And so you have Lake County, Mendocino County, Humboldt, Trinity, and now Siskiyou County. And we are part of a coalition and is to safeguard communities. And what that is specifically focusing on is human trafficking. And human trafficking, when I say that, I mean labor trafficking, which we're seeing in our illegal marijuana grows, and also bridging out into sex trafficking. Any type of trafficking of the human body, we are looking into that with these resources. And so it's really clear it's to protect these victims and to locate them. We want to get them help. It's really simple. I think that we would all agree that that is disturbing to think that people in our own community could be caught up in this, and they are. We want to be able to provide advocacy for them and resources and rescue them out if we can, and then prosecute people. And so this new coalition comes with a great group of resources and people, and we're looking forward to getting, we have a small team that's starting. There's about 4 people, but it's going to be the whole agency that is participating in that. So we're excited about that. And so a little bit about the coalition is, this first slide here says, victims are often forced to live on the work site or in nearby substandard housing. They have little to no privacy and isolated from the outside world, limiting their ability to seek help. That's one pillar that we are trying to overcome. And a lot of that, what we are seeing is, unfortunately, in our illegal marijuana cultivation sites. But it doesn't just have to be that. The other one over here is that these folks, no control over their ID or money. Traffickers often confiscate victims' identifications and documents, and they control their freedom. And that is something that we want to rescue them out of. And then continuing on, for your information, so you know, victims of human trafficking are often physically abused or neglected, showing signs of malnutrition, untreated injuries, or extreme exhaustion due to long hours in unsafe working conditions. And they are reluctant to seek medical help out of fear of their traffickers. So we're dealing with a group of people that we really need to focus on and be very delicate about it. And you may have seen these people in the community. I mean, it could be anyone. And it's like domestic violence awareness. We want you to be aware that this is going on, and maybe you could be better people that could report if you see something similar to this. And similar, working long hours with little or no pay. If something comes to mind ever, we could laugh about that. I guess most of us work long hours with little or no pay, but this is specific about human trafficking. And victims may be forced to work extended hours, often in dangerous and harmful environments, without receiving proper compensation. I've spoke to many people in the illegal grows where they're still waiting for money from months back, never been compensated, and that's not okay. Even if people are doing things that are illegal, they're still people, and they're still in the county, and I'm still their sheriff, and we still have a duty to take care of them. So I have to do my part, and our agency is going to be focused on this now and in the future. Okay, the other thing that may not have become, or has not become something over on this side, is there are wolves in Siskiyou County. Has anybody seen a wolf over here? Yes? See? There you go. I have yet to see one out in the wild, but we get pictures and I've seen video about it. So the Sheriff's Office has received, of course, numerous complaints about this. If you've seen our social media, I've been to Sacramento. We've been setting up meetings with Fish and Wildlife to address these issues because of the depredation that it's causing livestock producers. There's a couple concerns. There's many of them. One is the depredation, of course, of livestock, and the other is a public safety issue, just about having a apex predator in the woods. I'm not going to suggest that it's common that wolves attack people. But anything is possible, and it's not a fear-mongering thing. I'm just concerned that if we don't have enough information about this and it's not well known, people are going to report seeing things. They might try to approach wolves, and I'm concerned about that. So I'm not trying to say that you need to be in fear for your safety, but just recognize that it is an apex predator out there. And one of the things we've done is launched a wolf reporting page so that we can keep track of it. It could be anonymous, but I would love to know where they are in the county. And one of the things is the challenges that we're having with the state is that there are so many wolves. I mean, there's lots of wolves. And in Siskiyou County, which we can get to the next slide, I believe. So this is our statistics here, and these are, well, we're not sure if they're super accurate, but there's 8 breeding pairs, 3 collared wolves, and a total population estimated at 72. And livestock depredations since 2020 is 95. So that number, 95, is over half in the entire state of California. Siskiyou County has the worst depredation of anywhere in the state. And that's not something to brag about. That's to just realize that it's a very present issue. And that number 72, I would say, is probably low. Like, we have a lot of room in Siskiyou County. I mean, they're going to increase in size. And so bringing awareness to that, we are trying to work with the state because the main thing is the livestock depredation. We've got to fix that because there's not really any money in the compensation program they used to have for the producers. And so that money's kind of ran out. So when people lose animals to wolf attacks, they're not being compensated like they were. And there's just there's a lot of politics involved in this. I'm sure that's not surprising. They're endangered species, federally and at the state. And so there's very limited things you can do with them legally. And so we're trying to team up with them, and I'm trying to give them a benefit of the doubt that the state Fish and Wildlife will help us with some solutions. And I think we've made some progress with our meetings. And they actually have started, or they're starting very soon. There was a press release on our social media, Facebook, I believe, that talks about a task force that they're going to have partnering with our county officials in Sierra County and also in Siskiyou County. And it's going to be here all summer, and it's designed to really be specifically focused on this wolf issue. because again, the cows are out and the wolves are hungry. And I'm sure most of us have noticed the decrease in deer and elk. It's not like it used to be, so they have to eat something. And what essentially is happening now is the wolves are surviving off of livestock. And that's not the way it should be. Back when wolves sort of ruled the area, we didn't have livestock like this. So it's not the same as it used to be. So there are arguments that, even though they used to be here, it's a total different environment. And I think that unfortunately the state hasn't really thought that through all the way. It's a touchy subject, but I'm doing everything I can locally, as well as the County Board of Supervisors and our Ag Commissioner and the trappers to address this. So just so you know, we're always thinking about wolves. Go ahead. And that's me. Okay, so the format of this, that's a little bit about just a quick update on kind of things. So it's not really quick. I've been probably talking for a while, but I'm going to pass the mic over to the next person here, and we're going to go through different people, and then when we're done, feel free again if you want to write questions down, if you think of them. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, please welcome our wonderful Emergency Services Director, Brian Chinook. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you coming out this Tuesday evening. So really, I'm pretty quick today. We're going to talk about knowing your zone. So one of the things that really impacts Happy Camp in the area is that we changed up our zones for fire season this year, and we put Happy Camp in their own zones. So there's no longer having to have Siskiyou SIS. So if you see that pop across as an alert, it's going to see HCP, and that is going to represent any of that. So any of the areas that are HCP zones, they have residents in them, and that's going to be when we're pushing that out. It's going to say Happy Camp now instead of just saying Siskiyou. So we caught that last year in the Shelley fire, when we were pushing out evacuations during like Greenview and some of the unincorporated areas. So we found that not everybody knows their number, so having that designator of where you're at is going to be really huge. And one of the things that, if you see anything that you don't like, let us know, and we can adjust as needed. We had some really good input from the Forest Service, CAL FIRE, local law enforcement, pretty much across the board. So we had a really good working group throughout the year to fix that and make that happen. So alerts and warnings, we're all very familiar with this. This is a couple of years ago, the Elliott fire in the complex that year. So alerts and warnings, we have evacuation. We use two in California, which is warning, which evacuation means preparing yourself, getting ready, and then order, which is evacuation, it's time to go. Happy Camp, you are very familiar with this, and you're very familiar with fire and fire on the landscape. So one of the things that we need to do is continue to work together as, I know Randy, we work together, Daryl, we work together throughout fire season, is to ensure that we're meeting your needs. We understand that highway can be cut off, access can be cut off. We've got to evacuate early, and we got to push that out early. One of the big pushes right now at the state is building evacuation routes. And that's not realistic for our area because we don't know where the fire's going. So if it's the Oakland Hills, right, we know that the fire's going to come down the Oakland Hills and it's going to cut off certain areas. For Siskiyou County, when these, McKinney Fire is a great example, when these things are raging, we don't know really where they're going. We have a basic idea, but we're not going to send people to that evacuation route because you're probably going to be cut off. So local knowledge is very important. We lean on you in the local communities to understand and know that. And when we're pushing out evacuation orders, when it's an order, Sheriff and I take this very seriously, that when we push out evacuation orders, that it's not because that it could possibly be happening, it means it's happening. One of the things that we've also implemented in the last few years is the IPAWS, which is Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. It's the federal system that pushes out no matter what. So whether you want it or not, you're getting the evacuation order. We started using that a few years ago along this Highway 96 corridor because of the limited cell service and the spotty cell service. One thing that we recommend is really looking at like a weather radio, like a NOAA weather radio. Easy, you throw some batteries in it, it pretty much, they take really zero power. In that, your iPods will be pushed through on that. If you don't have a landline and you rely on cell service, iPods is a great push for us, but having those means, so whether it's gonna come over radio, TV, and whenever you're driving into that zone, it's gonna pop up. So if you're out, we always talk about this too, if you're out in the wilderness and having like a GPS, like a Garmin, iPods will come over that as well. So really important that we use that, especially in this Highway 96 corridor. So one of the easy things to do is just be prepared, have that go bag. Like I said, we're Happy Camp, you're more than fire savvy on this. This is not your first rodeo. And we're really working with Forest Service this year. We worked with CAL FIRE and with the tribe to really ensure that we're getting those fuel mitigation projects taken care of, getting access roads. One of the biggest things that we see is working with Caltrans and doing road construction during fire season. Like, come on, like that's the worst time to shut down Highway 96. So really trying to be involved with that, really pushing hard on the state to either move that one side or the other has been really important for us. And then looking at their 10-year plan for 96, they've done a lot of great work, but like just driving down here today, there's 2 slide areas and I'm like, oh gosh, like no one told me about that. So those are things that I'll address when we get back to Wairika tonight. But yeah, so for us, really just understanding, having that backup plan, understanding your secondary evacuation route. As I always say, look at it at night as well, because usually it's gonna be dark. During Slater Fire, we saw that, everyone's going out and that smoke just sits in there, and especially in this Highway 96 corridor, it just sits in there. It makes it really tough to see. With that, one more. Yeah, so Ready Siskiyou Alerts is how we push out alerts. That's elected self-elect, so you'll sign up. I do have these cards here today, and I have a bunch of stuff on the back that you can just QR code or sign up. You could put in a lot of really good information on that. Like myself, our family, we put that we have dogs and that you have a gate. So there's some stuff in there that you could really drill down in there. Access and functional needs. You're needing a little extra time, or you're have like medications or oxygen that you need, you can put that in there, and as well as registering with public health for access and functional needs really helps us in an emergency, understanding like we need to get oxygen down, we need to get whatever that might be, medications down. When there is a large event, the Emergency Operations Center is open in Siskiyou County, and we support the whole county. We're in Wairika, and Daryl, we meet with him. What do you need? How do we get it down there? So these are all parts that we work together. If there's anything that doesn't require firefighting or law enforcement, we're everything else. So if that's animal sheltering, food, logistics, we're taking care of that. So some important links. These are also back here. Sheriff's page, Facebook page, myself, Facebook page, or not my personal one, you don't want to be on that, that's boring. OES page is a lot of information we're pushing out, and we have a PIO as well, who's just, that's their job, is just pumping information. The more you're informed, the better. Our Twitter, or X now, works really good. The news pulls from that. And then Dave with Siskiyou Media, they've done a great job of really just grabbing our information and pushing that out. Our Ready Siskiyou Alerts.gov. I'm not really techie, but my guys put together an RSS feed. So whenever there's an alert popping up, it'll just list it right onto our webpage. So a pretty snazzy little feature. I guess by using the word snazzy, I'm not techie. So this is some other things I threw up. There's their disaster cards. It's like some stuff like writing down your prescriptions, having that go bag, having stuff for if you have pets and you're going to evacuate your pet. Understand that my pet maybe needs medication, and my pet needs dog food. So having all that as well is really important. So like I said, fantastic to be down here. I always love coming to Happy Camp, and I love coming to Happy Camp when we're not in an emergency. So I appreciate the attendance today. So thank you.
Who's next?
Can you hear me? Okay. Chris Christopherson, Forest Supervisor on the Klamath National Forest. Let me start with a few things that we are doing forest-wide to address forest fuel buildup issues. So first off, we live in a beautiful area, Klamath National Forest. It's one of the most biodiverse forests in the world. It's right here in our backyard. And one of the reasons why it's so diverse and spectacular is it evolved with a lot of frequent low-intensity wildfire. It's got some really interesting geology also mixed in here with the forest. And so as a result, we have the global biodiversity for conifer trees right here on the Klamath. We grow a lot of trees, we grow big trees, and for the last 100 or so years, we've been working to put out just about every wildfire that we can. And as a result, we've got unnatural fire, burning, house burning, and fuel buildups. The fire, Slayer Fire, that was just right out of town here, is an example of how fires can burn when you have unnatural fuel loading buildups. One of the things that we're doing on the Klamath National Forest is a forest-wide environmental analysis to look at mechanical thinning of our forest and then re-entry with prescribed fire. And so it's not rocket science, it's not a secret potion on how we get our forest back to a healthy, fire-resilient, insect-resilient state. We need to thin them back to a stand density that is somewhat more natural. So instead of having thousands of trees per acre, you have in the teens of trees per acre. And after you mechanically thin those, you follow up with prescribed fire. And so our president put out an executive order to increase timber output. And so that is one of the tools that we are using to do that. And so all forests nationwide are expected to increase output by about 25% by 2028. Can the Klamath do that? Should we be doing it? Yes. And so historically, the Klamath put out a lot of material, supported local mills, supported communities, and put fire back into the system. For a variety of reasons, that output has dropped off. And so one of my goals as the new forest supervisor is to consolidate our program on the Klamath. And so instead of having 3 individual districts working on 3 different programs of work, we put everything on the table. We've invited partners in and said, hey, this is what we're working on. Are these the right projects? And it was interesting because a lot of folks that have been here for a number of years are like, oh, didn't realize we were doing this. Oh, we're doing that over here. There's a lot going on the forest. And when I look around at the folks we've got a lot of people that have been here for a number of years that know how to do the job, but we don't have enough people on staff on the Klamath to do everything that we had on the table. So we made some hard decisions and we parked some projects. We got some projects off of the table so we could focus on getting key projects done, whether they be in the WUI or ridgeline treatments to actually protect communities, put fire back in where we need it to be. And so for the last year, that's been my ask for the team, that we be more focused on what we're doing, clear the plate. The second piece that we're doing is we're utilizing some new modeling tools, so fire modeling tools to predict where we're going to have natural ignitions and unplanned ignitions, like roadside starts, and then looking at where we have densities, where we have the wind, and then that's going to model where the fire is going to burn. So then that also tells us where we should be going and what kind of treatments we should be working on to prevent the next Slater fire, the next McKinney fire from burning down Happy Camp. And so our team's been working on that. And so we've got some project areas that are around 40,000 to 50,000 acres in size. Been working with the Karuk tribe to get money to people to treatments on the ground. So that's another ongoing piece, and the fuel specialist, Chris Ware, is going to share some specific projects on Happy Camp that are ongoing. Let's see, the other piece that I wanted to share is that we have a forest-wide ridgeline and road system environmental analysis that was paused for a number of years. That's been stood back up, and we're working to have a decision on that, hopefully in 26 or 27. And so that will allow us to go out and treat roadsides and treat ridge systems before we have a type 1 incident management team scrambling to treat roadsides and ridge lines, because that's where we often fall back when we want to anchor and then put fire in. And so this kind of sounds like common sense and no-brainer, and it is. And I'm glad that the forest is working with the Shasta Trinity National Forest to move that forward. The third and final piece that I'll share, going back to a year ago, July 1, we had the Shelley Fire start in the Marble Mountain Wilderness right above Etna. It started in the mutual threat zone, and we rapidly mobilized aircraft to start working that to put it out. Within 2 weeks, I went and I briefed the county supervisors and said, we're putting this out because of where it is, the time of year, and the risk that that fire poses to the communities in Scott Valley. And we went after it, and it was a huge win with our partners, CAL FIRE. We put that fire out. And what I led off with is we live in a sea ecosystem that has evolved with fire. From time immemorial, we have had lightning here, and we've had people here intentionally managing with fire. And we need to figure out as a community how to live with fire and how to let fire work for us at the right time and in the right place. And one of the things we've done as a forest is we've put, Sheriff LaRue showed a map of Siskiyou County. We put the map of the Klamath National Forest up, which is 1.8 million acres, and said, where can we safely manage fire? Where don't we want it? Next to private property, right next to the communities, but out in the middle of a wilderness area, when we've got the right temperature, the right moisture, and we've got access to people to manage that at the right time of the year, we are going to look to let fire work and work for us, because that's one, going to reduce the risk to the first responders that are going out there, but two, it's going to reduce long-term risk to the communities like Happy Camp. It's going to reduce long-term risk to the communities like Happy Camp, and we need to figure that out. And talk about politically charged, talk about having things that could go wrong. I mean, there are examples of the best intent. You've got an early season ignition in a wilderness area way in the middle of nowhere, and then by August, it's standing up, and it's doing things that you don't want. And none of us want that. And so we've been having intentional conversations, been having conversations with CAL FIRE and the local forest soups, because when we do decide to do this, it's going to be a conversation with the land managers and the owners of the property and what our plan is. And we're not going to have it in a black box, just trust us, we're the Forest Service. That's not going to work. And our direction from the chief is to put fires out where you can and to address risk. And so that is what we're going to do. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Ware to talk about some of the specific projects we have in the works.
Hello everybody, my name is Chris Ware. I'm the fire management specialist for prescribed fire and fuels for Happy Camp and Oak Knoll. I live in the community. I've been here for 21 years. So my goal is to address as much as we can with the prescribed fire and fuels in the community. Kimberly Duvall, our acting district ranger, couldn't be in today, but she just wanted me to express that she's excited about developing a fire-wise community and being part of that conversation. One of the projects I specifically wanted to talk about was the Shasta Trinity and Klamath National Forest prescribed fire EA. So what that project is doing is it's gonna allow us more access to the National Forest as far as what's covered under NEPA and what's available for us to treat. Right now, it's in scoping right now, and we're hoping on getting a decision on that probably within the next year or two. When that goes through, it's gonna allow us to fill in a lot of the holes that we don't have coverage on, especially in the wildland urban interface, around private properties and around the community happy camp. We're also been working very closely with the tribe, MICWIC, and the fire safe councils to develop a cross-boundary burn program. That's going to be working with private landowners that are adjacent to federal property so that we can actually burn cross-boundary and have those open up. That's really all I had. I'll be here for the rest of the meeting. If you guys have any questions for me or want any specifics on what we're working with, don't hesitate, let me know. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? Good. It's kind of like half asleep to me out there. I have a really monotone voice, so I'm trying not to wander too far. As I'm sitting over there and I'm looking over here, I'm seeing this gentleman with this hair color very similar to mine. I'm thinking back to the days of the 1970s when I was part of Etna High School. Ventured to Happy Camp and encountered Coach Hokinson. And we never did win a game here. We tried the fast break and couldn't beat it. Anyway, Happy Camp, special place in my heart here. Dealing with the Slater fire, got to know the community a lot better. Went through some rough times there. And very impressive to me, I need to point out here, is the tribe and how the tribe stepped up. Vice Chair Chairman Atterbury, Mr. Randy White, Sarah Spence, and housing and everything. I don't think it's widely recognized, but the Slater fire, 265 properties burned with homes. The tribe stepped up incredibly to help out. And really only 10% of tribal people were affected by this fire. So kudos to the tribe. Thank you guys very much. It was awesome and heartfelt to work with you through that process. Anyway, all that said, the Community Development Director of Siskiyou County. This is the only slide that I have right here. So I'm over the building department, the planning department, and also environmental health. So I'm just going to run through that a little bit. Going to keep it pretty short, give an overview. So see everybody, it's kind of not enough. Environmental health, we have 3 different divisions: consumer protection, hazardous materials, and also the land use division, right? So our land use division works quite a bit hand in hand, septic systems, wells, and so forth. Consumer protection, if Dave Jackson comes and pays you a visit, I think, at the pizza parlor. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Happy to have him on board. He's retired in Newman and a lot of common sense. Does a good job for us. Handles the Klamath River corridor. Our hazardous material team obviously basically jumps in with the Slater fire, any fire for cleanup purposes. So that's in a nutshell for the environmental health. Building department, you know how that all rolls, right? We do have our pre-approved building plans that are available for anyone who wants to try to build a house. They're already pre-engineered, pre-planned checked, so there's pretty good cost savings there. So always welcome to come and look at those. Along those lines, Unfortunately, we're 5 years out from the Slater fire, and I would have loved to see a lot more building going here. Really, we're sitting at about 45 homes replaced out of the 265. I'd like to see that improve a whole lot more. But the long-term recovery group in Happy Camp has been the strongest and worked the longest and the hardest trying to achieve pathways for rebuilding. The grants and everything you guys do has just been really impressive. So keep on keeping on. Maybe 10 years, we'll get another 45 homes out here, right?
Great.
Yeah. The planning department is headed up by Haley Lang. We're kind of in the throes of revising our general plan update. We had a meeting here a while back. Please continue to participate with that. It's something that hasn't been done since 1980, so that's like the year I graduated from high school, 45 years ago. Woo! Wow. So it'll be nice to get that updated. We're trying to streamline things, right? So right now, the way that the general plan is written, there's it needs a lot of help, right? It can be really streamlined a lot, and it's kind of defined a lot more uses in each division, each land division. So we have fewer times at the planning commission, and hopefully quicker projects going through. Lastly, I want to talk about our code enforcement, which is built under the planning division. Rita has been in a lot of contact with our code enforcement. She's got a heck of a project going up across the river over there. Very impressive work you've done there, Rita. You continue to do that. I don't know if you all have been out to the Bourne property in the past, but really close to 3,000 vehicles out there stored. What's your number you have left, Rita?
There's probably about 1,500 left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I want to do a shout out for Gabe Garrison. Hello. Gabe Garrison has written junk slips. We opened it up to the local folks to bring in, metal and cars and heavy equipment. And Gabe has worked tirelessly tracking down the cars, getting things done and signed off, and couldn't have done it without him. And people are very grateful, and it's super cool. So I just wanted to let everybody know that.
I second that for sure, because Gabe came over and signed all your slips and gave you a reminder as well. It's like, hey, I spent this time, or now your turn to spend the time to get it done. And thanks, Gabe, again. Yeah, I appreciate that. All 4 of mine are gone. Just let you know.
good work, Gabe, because I know how that works. You're gonna get writer's cramp.
Yeah.
That's a lot of slips to write in the same.
We don't want to be a waste of time, right?
And yeah, just a shout out. So if that's still available, Rita, anybody in the community has the
This
vehicle
week,
laying out
they
there.
keep telling me they're quitting, and then we keep getting
Okay.
another 25 or 30 cars.
Yeah.
If the price of metal will go up, we'll get them all done.
So I'm really proud of our code enforcement team, John Ottenberg and Andrea Fox. The last 3-4 years, basically John came on 5 years ago and really improved the program. So we have a decent presence. We're going to be down here on Thursday if you have any issues you want to bring forward. We're going to go actually fly the property out there, get a handle on the progress you made and document that. Additionally, as the sheriff pointed out, our situation with the cannabis cultivation, really from my department standpoint, what's occurring in our county with the illegal cannabis cultivation is just a decimation of the environment. And that's what really tears me up, because we have trash. The folks don't seem to want to go to the dump, so they just dig holes and bury everything on site there, right? Same with the sewage, it's all on site. Pesticides have been mentioned is a big concern also. And what we're trying to get some traction with the state and everything else is they don't quite understand the cumulative impact of that, right? So this has been going on for 5-7 years, day in and day out, and we all know how often we do the business every day, and that all stays on that property. So, we're doing our best to take care of that. Don't have a lot of tools. The state's not been really helping us out a whole lot. Anyway, we're gonna carry on, do the best we can to try to solve that issue. And aside from that, all good on Happy Camp, another place. Dyed in the wool, right here, all aboard, so.
Sorry you didn't win any games down there.
Yeah, so am I. We came so close, I don't know if I can talk about this one.
But Ferguson's a legend, you know.
Yeah, so, we hosted Happy Camp in Etna.
Okay.
One team. So we had a coach who was pretty bright, right? We know we couldn't beat you at the fast break, so we ran a full court offense for the entire game. And down to the last seconds, you're up 9-7. That was the score of the game. All we had to do was get the ball in bounds. Well, it didn't happen. Ronnie Reeves stole the ball, goes up for 2 to tie it, and we fouled him. And then he hit the free throw. So,
Sounds about right.
sounds about right. Anyway, thank you guys.
Gerald, you run off.
Hey, Daryl's here.
Was there more information you'd like to share?
I just want to remind everybody that we're working an emergency water grant. We're in our 3rd year. It's going to be up at the end of December. We're looking for additional funding. But what we were able to do is provide clean drinking water for Orleans, which is in Humboldt County. They're still on boil notice, but we ran in just the year before. We actually had all 3 areas, Wairika, Happy Camp, and Orleans were on boil notice for a while. With the burn scars and the runoff, really caused some issues. So we were able to meet that need, which was really cool. It's where they started calling me the water's boy. I'm not sure what that's all about. But we've been able to expand on that now. We are actually putting in the water filtration kiosk. We have one here in the senior center. So when they're open for 3 hours around lunchtime, you can come in, you can get a container. And the container you can fill, and you can come back and keep refilling it. It has a screw top on it, so that's been working out. We're providing water for 7 families through our CHR who don't have good drinking water, so we're able to take care of our others, and we're just looking forward to continuing that. The other thing that we did is looking forward and see what we could do to even go beyond just giving out bottled water. Was our, we got 3 water wagons in, they're 500-gallon tanks, DOT approved, dual wheel, and they are designed for potable water. So if there's an issue with the electricity going down or water system going down in Orleans, Happy Camp, or even Wairika, there'll be one for each community, or if we have sustained operations during a forest fire, we can park them at DNR and be able to have people be able to come up, because we ran into that where people were going over to where people had wells, and everybody was using their wells, maybe 5-gallon buckets, and some of those wells started to go dry. So we're hoping to do a better job of being able to supply drinking water to our communities here on the river, and it's been working out pretty good. So I'm pretty excited about being able to do that program for the tribe. So if you want to get that, we do have one in Orleans at the Senior Center, and then we're also going to be putting another one at DNR, which is the Department of Natural Resources. So we have our fire crews down there in Orleans, so we're going to put an additional one in Wairika. So all of our housing areas will have a kiosk. The kiosk has a 6-tiered filtration system, so it filters out the water, and in case things get really bad, we still will provide potable water through our regular program. Working with housing to find places to be able to store it. Water's usually good if you have it in a cool place for about a year and a half. So we're hoping to kind of have areas where if we're running into a problem, we have places in Orleans, Happy Camp, where we're storing it. So when the emergency comes up, we can do an immediate response. So it's a pretty exciting program, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Yeah, right on that. Daryl's done great. You folks don't know, the community of Orleans in Humboldt County their water is deemed undrinkable. Very complex system. It runs on 2 different systems. assistant from this creek part of the town, a different creek for the other part of the town, and, yeah, Daryl's been hauling thousands of gallons of water down there. He has these, kiosks set up here, there's one out here, there's gonna be 2 in Orleans, and it's for the whole community, not just the tribe, everybody's been using it. And he's actually gone around to the elder housing and put like filters on their faucets. He's done that for the community and offered that to the community for their houses. And he pretty much wrote all the grants to get all this stuff going, so thank you, Daryl, for your hard work.
Thank you, Daryl. Very nice. Okay, last, before we get to the Q&A, I wanted to invite our chaplain up, Keith Bradley, just to talk a little bit about the Sheriff's Chaplain Program and kind of the wonderful things that he does in our community. I don't know if you need this or not, but go for it.
Probably not. I don't have my own slide. What's the deal? I've been part of the Sheriff's Department for at least 28 years, chaplain services. It's a counselor, but also I come with the spiritual side of things. We try to provide that for those who want that support and that encouragement. I view myself as a support person for the Sheriff's Department, and in reality, all of our first responders. CAL FIRE has an outstanding peer support program in place now. I used to do a lot with CAL FIRE, and California Highway Patrol also has a great peer support program, and I don't do as much of that as I used to, but for all the first responders, I'm available. For critical incidents, I pull the groups together, do the counseling, help them get through those difficult times and get back in service and be helpful to people doing the things that they desire to do. So part of the big picture is the wellness, and we just try to help them see the deputies and their families. We work with their families as well to make sure that they're healthy. We want them to have a good retirement when that day comes. They give me an opportunity to teach at the Law Enforcement Academy at COS on wellness, so we get to start with them when they're young and try to work with them all the way through. So that's pretty much what I do. I've been to Happy Camp many times over these years because of the fires and other incidents. I was down recently with the child who drowned in the river. And again, my support is for those first responders, deputies and others who are on the scene, have to deal with that stuff. And we try to make sure they are doing okay mentally and because of the stress. So that's kind of what I do, and whatever else needs to be done, if somebody asks me, I try to do it. So I'm a support person.
Great. Well, thank you, Keith, for all that you do and all that you've done over the years. We have several other chaplains that are sort of all over the county, even one in Horse Creek, you were just mentioning them. And so the idea is that they be able to respond in a time of need for anyone that needs that service. And so that's just one of the things that the Sheriff's Office does. Before we get to the questions, I want you to know that, again, if you feel comfortable to ask a question now, you can. You don't have to, but we can talk after, private if you'd like, if it's something confidential. The people that are here that represent the state government, the federal government, and the county, as well as the tribe, we're here because we care about the community. And we see value in a relationship with you. We work for you. That's our job. And government is kind of a interesting entity, and that we had frustration with it in many levels, but I think there's ways that we can bridge that by just being better people and trying to reach out more routinely and get to know each other again, like I had mentioned. So this doesn't have to be the last time we're here. I sure hope it isn't. We want to keep coming back and having it more regularly so that you can tell us what's going on in the community and we can kind of work together on things. Because most of what law enforcement does, at least in particular, I mean, we deal with calls for service routinely. We do proactive things. but a lot of interaction with people is very limited to a specific, we'll say, group of people oftentimes. And we kind of miss the interactions with the majority of people. And so we want you to know that we're out there, we do good things, we're in the schools, we have a robust DARE program, and we don't just go to calls for service. Sheriff's Office is a full, I say full service agency in that we operate throughout the county, but we operate as the coroners, we have an investigations unit, we work in the courthouse as marshals, we run the jail, we're in the field, we have a chaplain program, we have special teams like the SWAT team that you're probably familiar with from TV, and just a variety, the dive team, and we have search and rescue is a big part of our community, and we work really close with the, we'll say the grassroots, and so we want you to know that we're there for you. And again, any input that you can provide will make us better, and that we can adapt to that. So with that, we're open to questions if you have them. Again, no pressure, but if you feel like you have something, we're here for you. Any one of us are happy to address our topics. And again, if you want to talk about something privately, we're here. We'll stay through until that time. So,
I just got one more comment
Yes.
or announcement. Recently, the Karuk tribe had that Great Back Road add to their service list. So something we're striving to do is find funding to be able to keep that road open all year round. Because we know here in Happy County, it's like one of our only routes. You know, if there's a landslide on either side, that's our only route out of here. You know, if there's a fire on either side, that's our only route out of here. So I mean, so we got to add to our service, and we'll be looking for funding. You know, the folks know how to find funding for that. Let's do this together, because that road's definitely for the community.
great. Yes.
So I have a comment and kind of a question with
Sure.
this. So in terms of Happy Camp, a marijuana eradication program out here is probably not a huge priority. I don't see that as something that, you know, is with the townspeople as much of a major concern. If they want marijuana, you just ask somebody and it's there because there's a lot of it. But fentanyl and heroin is a problem here. And there are a few houses that are dealing, everybody knows everyone here, and it's a small community, and we know they're doing it, and they're, you know, everybody stops by, and they get, you know, waving at the local heroin dealer, and, I mean, it's there, it's a problem, it's causing social issues, and it would be great if those houses were shut down, or there was some kind of accountability for those people selling that, and, you know, our kids are getting it, and it's just another generation of drug addicts. And so my comment is, and my question is, why aren't we focusing on that, you know, and getting rid of that issue? I mean, I think it's diminished tremendously since the Slater fire, but we've got concentrated houses moving a lot of product.
No, I appreciate that, and we should be focusing on those. So, I don't know, I speak with the local deputies here to see what they know, but just telling you from the sheriff's point of view is that we try to focus on the problems. That should be our goal. And so depending on, let me back up here. California has made it difficult to have meaningful, lasting prosecution and effect from a lot of drug crimes, which is not an excuse, it's just a reality that is frustrating for us as well. Because as you've seen, people that do get in trouble, it may be very little time that are served, they may not go to treatment, they may be on probation, they may not. It's frustrating because, again, it's not that we think everyone needs to be locked up forever, but it's like, what meaningful change is happening? And I don't see it, and it's a legislative issue. So what we try to do is what the best we can do with what we know and what we have. And so I tell people, we try to make it might sound bad, but we need to make projects out of people or issues in the community together so that we have good reports, good documentation, that leads to good prosecution. And sometimes things fall through the cracks. We don't get good intel on people and where they are and what they're selling, or we don't link it to a distributor. And so I think there's pieces that we could probably work together on that would be a more meaningful case than just an initial arrest of somebody. But I'm certainly open to getting those people off the street. I don't think they should be here. So is that something we could partner on with? I know many people know what's going on in the community, and I think it's great. So intel is always a big one, whether it's pictures and videos and names, and I'm sure our deputies know these people, but anything you can give me that could help. We have a task force that looks into these things, and I know the district attorney's office is willing to prosecute to the best that they can with the laws that they have, but it's nothing that we should leave alone. I don't want that to be the message.
So, you know, before, like, in the 80s, drug task force did a great job. And it seems like they're not here anymore. And they should be, because there's a lot of information, and we can shut down these places. And he knows as well as we all know, if you get them, if they got money, you guys get to keep the money. If they got vehicles, you know, and I think if the drug task force came back and got the key people involved again, then we can shut these places down and get them out of here.
That's good. No, I agree with you. The laws, I will say, that have changed. In the 80s, they were great. You guys know about Prop 36 that was recently passed. That's helping a little bit, because essentially what happened years ago, Prop 47 and some others, Safe Communities, it really messed up things, in my opinion. This is me speaking personally. But it decriminalized a lot of things, and the thought was, let's not lock everybody up. Let's get them treatment and help with that, which, okay, there might be some positive things in there, but what really happened is it created this culture where people weren't being prosecuted, and they were being released back out the streets. And so that's the big change from that period of time. But it doesn't mean that we can't do anything. So Proposition 36, which passed very high, very successfully, does have different things in there that requires people to go to treatment, but it also makes certain things back into a felony. And fentanyl's a big one that is now a felony. When they wrote that statutes, they never even included that in there. If you have a firearm with any of these things, it's now a felony. So they added some things in there, and I want you to know, if you don't know this, because I think it's rather embarrassing, that there was opposition to this, massive opposition in the legislature to not get this passed, because it would lock people up. And I thought, well, good, and they need to be locked up because they're killing people with fentanyl. That is not a joke. As I mentioned earlier, the massive amounts we have, but these are our loved ones and people in our community. And Sacramento is delirious and irresponsible when they start passing things like this that harm us. And I think we need to be vocal about that. And Proposition 36 was vocal. And it was pushed back, and I just want to know it passed successfully because of the citizens that wanted it. So that is a new tool that we have. But we need to figure out some better way of getting this taken care of. And I'm open to that. And I know our staff is too. So can we talk after? Can we get anytime? Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
So, you know, a concern of the tribe is maybe the definition of public law 280, like what that means.
Sure.
You know, so we don't have a reservation, so we are a public law tribe. We're a public law, which means we're the same as any other people in Siskiyou County. We don't have our own law enforcement, which means all the deputies and sheriffs are allowed to go through the tribal housing, and they're actually supposed to go up there because, you know, we pay taxes like everybody else. You know, we're Siskiyou County residents like everybody else. And I've seen it where I've heard it with my own ears that people didn't realize that they had the authority to even go up there. You know, they kind of have a misinterpretation that, you know, we have our own tribal police, that there's no jurisdiction. Yeah, you guys have jurisdiction to travel out there to do that. All right? And that's because it's public law 280, right?
Right, yes.
And, so I just, maybe we can think about, maybe always educating that, or, having that knowledge for all the new officers, or just maybe make sure we all remember that the tribe is the same, tribal housing is the same as downtown, it's all the same. Another question maybe for the emergency response, we talked about, we have MMIP now, right? And we would want to work with you guys to get a response system, and then our worker named Jasmine,
Yes.
and have you got in touch with her?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah,
So we worked with them. So that was part of our big push, is that Siskiyou County OAS, there's 3 of us. When there's an activation, obviously we have a bunch more. We can pull in whoever under disaster service workers. But we didn't have a lot of outreach to the public. And we pushed to get a grant, and that grant was awarded to us as the county for community resilience officers. And I was like, no, I don't want the staff. I want the staff out into the community. So we pushed it back out to the communities. And yeah, we have Jasmine, we have Sarah, Marika, and Stephen Dudsbury, and they have done an outstanding job. Like, you can reach out and push something, and it's getting done. So, and it's good to reach back, come back and forth. So yeah, it's a fantastic part of it. And we're going to continue to push for that grant through the state of California. Hazard mitigation plan has just been wrapped up, and then we're looking at keeping that grant, and we've asked to extend that grant for a few more years. So yeah.
We'd really like to see those emergency, situations go up, all the freeway signs, all that stuff.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
And then the last part, what do you guys think about cross-deputation? Maybe we can work with the tribe, figure out how to fund a couple positions, maybe we can add a couple officers that way, maybe a cross-deputation, and then I think all California is that way, and that's the way all tribes and reservation workers cross-deputize, right?
Yeah, I'm always open to that. Just across the county line over here in Humboldt, they have that. And, I mean, there is some complexities to that, but I think they can be looked at and figured out. But,
What's the definition of what you're saying? What's it for us?
Go ahead.
I mean, and he's talking about having essentially tribal police, like we've talked about. The Karuk tribe has never had tribal police, and so what you mentioned earlier with Public Law 280, and it's sent and you explained it perfectly. It's where we treat tribal land just like it was public property, California public property. It makes no difference, and so. If there's vandalism on tribal land, it's just like it was vandalism at the grocery store, domestic violence, the same thing. So it's just treated in the code as regular land for the purposes of enforcement. And so, if I'm understanding correctly, it's just talking about a partnership where between the sheriff's office and the tribe, where there can be law enforcement, and it's certainly possible because again, other tribes have it as well, and it's very common. It's something that has to evolve and I think be sort of presented by the tribe. And I know the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, I know the sheriff well, and it's what their department does, and we could get there if we wanted to.
I think we have to have fee land first or become a reservation, either or.
No, I think
Have it up, don't.
either way, actually, all California is cross-deputation, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. That's just the way it works in California, I think. Yeah, I just look at it as an opportunity to, because we're always short in numbers. You just said that yourself, right?
Yes.
There's always a capacity issue.
Yeah, and so what it allows is basically tribal law enforcement can have state authority and they can enforce within their boundaries, but then also through the sheriff's office, they're granted additional state authority so that they can enforce in areas that aren't just on the property.
Right.
It's similar to our federal partners and how they have their law enforcement officers that operate in the federal land. I essentially cross-deputize them and grant them authority that they can operate in the California general, property, if you will. So it would just be a partnership to allow them to be effective. And I mean, if you guys are ever open to talking about that, I'm all ears.
Right, that's good.
I think it might be complicated, but there's always. a
We'll do
way-
all the paperwork.
Yeah. Probably a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, Daryl will do it, he said.
Daryl, sign
He
it.
got 100 years experience.
He's got 100 years.
And some counties have like, like older people that are not like a neighborhood watch thing, but, they wear the uniform, renew your guys' ears and make control. I mean, a program like that is a good start, maybe.
There's different models throughout. I mean, there's neighborhood watch programs. There's like a citizens volunteer program that they have. There's many things we could talk about if it helps. We're open to doing. I mean, again,
Same in other communities, and they have radios, they contact dispatch, this and that, they actually work under you guys.
yes. We now have community service officers, which they do a great job and go out and help. They supplement the deputies and then the administrative functions of our agency, and they're doing a good job. We have 3 of them now, but I'm open-minded. I want to expand and make it better, and I honestly have always felt bad, rightfully so, that Happy Camp, this community, it used to have more of a presence of law enforcement, and it has dwindled. It has increased, and I'm happy for that, but it's still not where it should be. And my soapbox is always about money, and we get our money from the Board of Supervisors through the county. They have to look at a huge budget and figure it out, but I'd always say if you can ever help be advocates for this, for additional funding and positions, that'd be great. I know that you all want that, but I'm just saying if you can help me out in those moments to help advocate for that, I would love to be able to provide more if I can. And it comes down to dollars. And I don't like that because it's like public safety should be for everybody, and it should be equally dispersed everywhere. And it comes down to like a budget issue. That's not fair. You guys pay taxes, so shouldn't you have law enforcement presence how you want it? I have a different theory on that, right? I think if you pay taxes, you should figure out where you want it spent.
I talked to the board supervisor about that, and I told him, well, maybe we should do a survey, because I'm sure there's many citizens here that wouldn't mind paying a little more tax, so we can have that. And I'm sure the tribe would be able to help with that also, so we can have more law enforcement.
Go ahead, sorry.
I always often wondered how Siskiyou County is not the richest county in California with all the gold and timber that was extracted from this area.
Sure.
So I guess we didn't have a tax on it, We didn't have a stipulation where they had to leave a certain percentage, whatever's taken here. So maybe that's something to think about for the future when we're opening up logging again, is that we gotta put a line item in there that's for the county, to stay in the county, because, people are gonna take that revenue and head out again, and that's what they do, so. We really messed up by not having that in the beginning, because it's the logs, the timber and the gold alone, we should be the richest county in California. But
Well, a lot of the
we didn't do
timber
it
receipts
somehow.
went to the schools back in the 70s and 80s.
That's true too. Yeah.
Do you currently have funding for a CERT program?
For what?
CERT?
Yes, we do. So we just finalized everything with the state. We are ready to go with CERT. We just need some volunteers, and I've always have thought the Karuk tribe would be a fantastic place to start with that.
Daryl just got certified as a trainer.
Look at that. I
Or
think it's
Daryl.
actually part of it. Yeah. Well, he add that into another couple hundred years.
I know that.
So we have ready to go. Actually, our receptionist at the county building hates us right now because we just got 700 boxes of CERT material. Let us know when
Yes, please.
we'll start bringing stuff down, start getting training. We have backpack. So CERT is a community emergency response team, and it's one of those things that as a group, that's a Happy Camp that's isolated from everything. A CERT team is something that we'll come in, we'll get everything trained, stop the bleed, how to turn off gas, how to respond in an emergency until everything else can get there. It's actually on our little cards back there, so let's do that.
Daryl's giving me a bad time. I also got certified as a
Okay.
I was gonna say,
trainer.
that was part of the neighborhood watch back 7-8 years ago.
It was.
With
And
Mondays,
it-
yeah.
something like that can happen again.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about CERT, it's a county program, even though we're tribal employees, we would still activate under the authority of the county when they activated us. We're set up to train a CERT team now.
Yes.
We already had some.
We have to
Yeah, I
have
think
a
we did. So
program.
we had a very robust CERT team throughout Siskiyou County, and then it just kind of fell to the wayside. That was one of the things when I came into this position, is that we needed to bring that back, and we had all this money that was just set aside for it, and we're ready to go. And we got a grant for it, so we're spending money on it, and we just need people. So that's a great
Call it
cause.
sandboxes.
So yeah, well, yeah, sounds good. We'll get everything rolling for you. So.
Just so we know, when we went to our training, it became very apparent across California that a lot of those programs went away.
Yeah.
So we're still real strong in the North State on the coast, Humboldt County, and that's where we received our training. So we have a support system. The county, I reached out and had contact with them, so we're working towards that. It's not gonna be like 100 people. It's gonna be down to about maybe 15 or 20. Everybody will receive training, and then when we have those incidents, they always used to talk about you have to have a 3-day go back if an incident occurred before regular channels would start kicking in. We're talking about the state and federal government. In tribal country, it's usually 7, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks before things start leveling out. So oftentimes we're gonna be on our own. So it's good that we do that. And then on top of that, we're also working with their program. We're working with the Sheriff's Department's Search and Rescue Program. And so there's some logistics that need to be cleared up, insurance, all those kinds of things have to be talked about. But we're working towards that.
And just like I said, we got a bunch of equipment, a bunch of backpacks, everything that you need to get a CERT team going. We just need the bodies to fill it, and we are excited for that, I think. And I've always thought this would be where it's at, so this is definitely something that is welcome.
So Sheriff LaRue, you think it'd be possible to put all your staff on spot and maybe introduce yourselves, and so we get their names, maybe their years of service, or maybe just their names?
I'll let them say whatever they want to say.
Right,
Sure.
but they're all been standing back there, like to, like, we all know Gabe, he's like,
Well,
he's everybody's relative,
What's your name, Gabe?
Gabe Garrison, been here 20 years and haven't.
20 years,
Yeah.
yeah, Gabe, right on.
I'm Sergeant Rob Stewart. I've been around
He's the hockey player.
Deputy Brackett, I'm brand new.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome.
You're talking like days, brand new. James Randall, I'm your under sheriff. I've been with the sheriff's department for 25 years.
All right.
Deputy Cervantes, I have 6 years law enforcement in another county and about a year and some change over here.
All right, he's our local guy with Gabe, right?
If Gabe's not on shift, then I will be.
That's right.
Sage, would you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Sage Milestone. I'm the public information officer for the sheriff's office. I've been here about 2 years.
I met Sage in DC, she was working for La Mafa.
Yes.
That's right. Glad to
I have
have
a
her
question
back.
on the task force for the wolves. Will they actually have like any authority to do anything about it, or is it just like a task force to like determine what to do?
So, yeah, it's kind of complicated. So the task force, I mean, there's no like new laws created with it or anything, because again, we're dealing with endangered species. So, what they're allowed to do in their wolf management plan is they have different phases, which are super confusing. But it's non-lethal means of hazing the wolves to get them to stop attacking livestock. It's, in a sense, you could say, is that gonna really work? Well, it hasn't so far. Right, and that's, I mean, right. So it's so funny, in the real world, any of these conversations, we all laugh about that, like yeah, bad dog, right? And that's why it's so funny, when you go to like state meetings, these are like real topics that people are very serious about, you know, non-lethal, they'll be fine, they're not gonna do anything. You hit them with rubber bullets, and then they tell all their wolf friends not to go, and that's kind of how they make it sound like it. And I mean, that's kind of the message that we get. And so the task force is basically an idea of getting a full-time presence to address it, so when things come up. But I think it's going to involve that second phase, which is going to be rubber bullets and non-lethal things, which is a little bit of an elevation. And here's the part of the complexities of this is wolves, so there is no provision, if you will, that if a wolf is attacking your property, livestock, that you can kill a wolf, right? Which, because of the way that things are written, it's endangered. Federally, they can remove that, they can take it off their list. California still has it on that list. Thank you, California. And California can't do it until the feds do it. They can't. So both of them have to disappear for there to be essentially treated like coyotes, which coyotes basically, they're non-game animals, and they can be eliminated, if you will, taken, shot, if they are causing, damage and attacking, and people have been really great about that throughout the community. They know the appropriate time to do that, and I trust them completely. It's never been an issue. There was a little bit of an attempt to get rid of that, to make it so that you had to have depredation permits for coyotes, which they have since changed that at the state. We showed up and kind of protested it, and so that's good. That's on hold. So I don't know if that totally answered your question, but I think that task force is, again, just going to be a little more aggressive. And the hope is that, so the good thing about Siskiyou County is that we have a wolf liaison. No other county really has that. And we have 2 trappers that are going to be trained to assist Fish and Wildlife so they can go out and kind of handle this. And I think my hope is that they will make the responsible, decisions, because, I wish we could get it to a place where we treat wolves like coyotes, that if they're causing a problem, that they can be eliminated if it is necessary. And because they're not going away. There's going to be more of them. And again, the problem is, as they increase their food sources, livestock. It's not deer. There are no deer. You can't see deer anymore. You do, but it's not like it used to be. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Hoping for good things.
Did we miss one guy over here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sergeant Randy Tharp with the Highway Patrol. We have 2 resident officers who work in Happy Camp. They just came out to answer questions if there were any, but I'm stationed sergeant out of Wairika, but I supervise the Happy Camp RP guys.
Growing up here in Happy Camp, we had every law enforcement's here that live in Happy Camp. We had patrol, we had fishing game wardens, we had law enforcement officers, we had Siskiyou County, and the only thing we didn't have our own Happy Camp police, I guess.
Right.
But they're all here, by the numbers,
Yeah, it was a different
It was a logging era, right?
different time, that's for sure. I do want to thank Siskiyou Media Council, who's here with the camera there. They're providing this, as mentioned earlier. It's live, and they've been good partners with us, and it's something that we can engage the whole community with by providing it. So other people can watch this meeting, and it's not just people here in the room, so they can comment as well online.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we have lots of things.
May I make a comment?
Please, Dave.
Just to let you folks know that Alan Crockett, who is here in Happy Camp, has a low-power FM radio license that was awarded to him back in March of last year. So he's got about a year and a half left to go to get this thing up and running. So we're trying to work with the communities to let them know. We have a new website called radiosiskiyou.org. You put that out there. But the thing is just to be able to say, people want to say we need more communication within the county. So this low power FM radio station would be something for you, for students, for the local public to do your shows, things like that. And also to be able to transmit messages from the Sheriff's Department, from OES, in a timely manner, so it doesn't depend, it's earth-based. It's not internet radio, that's not social media, it is a hard tower sitting here inside Happy Camp, and you can have that message being displayed 24/7 during emergencies. So that's something that we're working on together as a group. So if you're interested, radiosiskiyou.org, just radio at SISQ.org. So, all right.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Okay, we're past our time, but it's your time. But
It's okay, it's $100 a minute.
I knew it. I knew there'd be a bill.
We'll ask the housing director to waive it or something.
Well, I do want to say again that I want to thank you for being here. You didn't have to be here, But it's important that we connect, and again, I'm your sheriff, I take that job very serious, that I need to be mindful of what you need as a community. And the same with all of our partners here, we're here because we care. And if we can do better, you can let us know, we work for you, and I think that we can bridge a lot of these gaps. So again, I just want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate you attending, and I look forward to our next meeting, probably in the near future. So with that, I can release you. Again, if you have something personal you want to talk about, feel free to hang around, but thank you again for being here.
Give all our officers a round of applause.